Today, finally, pictures surface of the concentration camps at the border. Dr. Fauci will be in a children's book, and Krispy Kreme is giving away free donuts for showing your vaccination card. There is something totally wrong with all of these things, and we will break it down for you right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. Happy Monday. I'm Sarah Gonzalez. Today joined by America's favorite cowboy, also future governor of Texas, Chad Prather, host of the Chad Prather Show on BlazeTV.
Hey. Good
Hey. Good. Glad you're here. Also Eric July, BlazeTV contributor. Thanks for braving the rain.
Yeah.
To be here.
I don't know what the hell that was all about, but
climate change, Eric.
It's all about climate change, bro.
Not global warming anymore.
We've only got 9 more years, all right? And it includes torrential rains and basically any other weather event that we want to use as an example of climate change.
I curse the rains down in Africa. Words of Toto.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the headlines of the day. So the border continues to be a crisis for the Biden administration. Now, I have not heard AOC come out and talk about the concentration camps, all of the awful conditions at the border, but it continues to be a crisis for the Biden administration. The latest report, nearly 1,000 child migrants held more than 10 days in border detention facilities. And I believe, yes, here are the conditions. If you guys are watching on any of the many ways you can find this show on video, these are the just some of the conditions from one of the border facilities. Of course, the maximum amount of time a child is legally supposed to be held in Border Patrol custody is 72 hours. So just as a reference point there, 10 days, they're supposed to be only held 72 hours. And of course, we have the Biden administration making the rounds over the weekend to tell us that the border is closed. Well, wait. Okay, the border's not, the border's sort of closed, but it's not closed if you fit this certain criteria. Watch.
Our message has been straightforward and simple, and it's true. The border is closed. We are expelling families. We are expelling single adults, and we've made a decision that we will not expel young, vulnerable children. Please remember something, that President Trump dismantled the orderly, humane, and efficient way of allowing children to make their claims under United States law in their home countries. He dismantled the Central American Minors Program. So we are rebuilding those orderly and safe processes as quickly as possible. But in the meantime, we will not expel into the Mexican desert, for example, 3 orphan children whom I saw over the last 2 weeks. We just won't do that.
Wow, what a humanitarian. What a guy. So the border is closed, except it's not really closed if you want to send your kids. So get them with a coyote, get them with a human trafficker, get them over the border, is basically what I heard from the Biden administration, because it's not closed for unaccompanied minors. Chad?
If I walked up to the convenience store and the closed sign was turned around on the door, but yet the person on the inside was waving me in to come do business, I could just walk right in there. Just because the sign says closed doesn't mean they're not willing to transact with you. And that's exactly the message that's being communicated by the American government right now. Now, if I were Glenn Beck, I would tell you that tomorrow night on the Chad Prather Show, it's going to be one of our most important episodes ever, and probably one of the most powerful that you've ever seen, where we're going to discuss this border crisis. You sit down with me. You are my resident Latinx subject matter expert.
Token.
And we sat down and we talked about what America's going to look like in just a few months if this situation doesn't stop. Now, Peckerhead there can stand up there and say whatever he wants to say about the border being closed. Fact of the matter is, it's not. 3,000 illegal teenage boys are in Dallas, Texas at the convention center for 90 days. We don't know where they're going to go after they're out of there. 729% in these reception centers, quote unquote reception centers. That's the capacity. Over 729% of capacity on the border in these facilities where these kids are having to take turns sleeping on concrete floors. It's not good. The numbers don't lie. human traffickers, coyotes, whatever you want to call them, they are making $14 million a day.
A day. That's how much they made
last month.
Yeah.
This is big business. This is big money. These are real numbers. This is what's going on. So you can talk about the Trump administration dismantling this and that, but the reality is this is the Biden administration, and these are the numbers today.
Again, Eric, how can you, I mean, you know, to add to Chad's point, how can you talk anything about the Trump administration and how horrible they were, how, you know, we inherited a broken system? Well, I mean, at least President Trump told people, do not come because we will not let you stay here, which to me is a much better message for people than, make sure to send your children on the dangerous journey, but just your children because you can't come. So send your children on the dangerous journey, and if they survive, they might be able to come, and then you can figure out a way to join them later. I mean, it's like, for all the talk about, you know, being humane and being moral, this seems to be the most immoral thing that you could possibly do, is to try to get these magnets, basically, and try to incentivize people to send their children into these, as AOC would call them, concentration camps. Which, by the way, I have not heard her say under the Biden administration. She's kind of called them out, but not as tough talk from AOC when it comes to the concentration camps under the Biden administration.
Yeah, that's because what they're seeing is basically the result of kind of talking out both sides of their mouth. Yeah. And that's the interesting thing in terms of how I look at it, because of course they were talking the game of being this sort of pro-migrant, pro-immigration party, being this pro-immigrant kind of, because that was all about votes. We know how that's the game that they played. And of course it worked the opposite way, because like you kind of mentioned, you're talking about people see that, you know, we've seen interviews of people that are at the border coming from other spots, and like definitely way south from like South America, saying that, well, Biden, if he was the president, or now that he is, that's kind of making me want to go take this risk and take this journey. So that's the result of that particular policy, or rather lack thereof, and that's what's incentivizing people to come. They're dealing with it on the opposite side, because at the end of the day, that still creates a problem. Now, they're being clever with it. We knew that was going to happen, in which they're blaming it on because of that, whether it be they by intention, they weren't thinking it through, they were too stupid, whatever the problem is, it's still a problem. And that you have people that are being housed in these poor sort of conditions right now. That looks bad on them. Now, again, we'll concede that that's sort of their fault, but they don't care about that. They're like, okay, this looks bad. Trump. There it is,
Trump.
right
Always
there.
Trump.
Yeah. He dismantled. What exactly? Don't worry about it. Just know he dismantled some stuff, and we're trying to rebuild it up, and that's why they're being housed in these sorts of poor conditions. So that's the result. I think what we can look at it as, it's like, that's government, right? That's government right there. That is a prime example of saying one thing, trying to appease these different crowds, and that blows up. Mm-hmm. And now you're dealing with this sort of issue where if you hadn't have did that, you probably wouldn't be dealing with it to the degree that you're dealing with it now. And then you're trying to like fight off your own, like, I guess, allies, because a lot of them are going to look to them and say, whoa, definitely now that these pictures surface, like, people are looking at that like, wait a minute.
Yeah. You guys told us for 4 years that this was the worst thing ever.
Exactly. Now they're like, wait a minute, it's going down right now. So they have a crisis, I think, that's going on both ends. What's actually happening right there at the border, where people are being basically just throwing their kids out there in these horrific conditions. I'm glad Chad brought up the simple fact, in which I've been bringing it up as well, and that this immigration. Look, it's easy to be pro-immigrant, man. Like, everybody can, and when you approach it from a standpoint of everybody that is crossing the border is an innocent victim trying to get a better life.
Right.
Who opposes that? Right? Like, people are like, oh, man, it's a feel-good story, but that's like making it way entirely too black and white, because it's not the reality. We know that human trafficking is an absolute real thing, and of course they're taking advantage of this situation. So they have a crisis on their hands, not just, again, what's legitimately happening, but also let's see what happens in terms of, as more of these pictures surface, how are they going to react? Because people, much like some of them did with Obama, calling him deporter in chief and all these sorts of things, it's going to be interesting interesting to see how they can sort of fight that off, because people are going to look at those conditions. They're pretty freaking bad, to be completely honest. And it's like, and in a lot of cases, worse than what we had saw with the Trump admin. So we'll see what happens.
Well, and so, by the way, Eric brought up I've totally lost my train of thought. But you were talking about the next soundbite that we have, the migrants who would go up and say, oh, I would not actually come anywhere close to crossing the border if it wasn't for Joe Biden. No, I would not do this if it were President Trump. This is not just Eric saying that. They have actually come out and they've been interviewed by places like ABC, and they have actually said exactly that. Let's listen.
This father, who asked that we not show his face, traveled to Mexico from Brazil with his wife and 3 young kids before crossing the border. Would you have tried to do this when Donald Trump was president?
Definitely not. Definitely. We had the chance, the same violence that is going on today was there last year. We used to watch the news, and I definitely won't do this.
So did you come here because Joe Biden was elected president?
Basically. The main thing was the violence in my country. And the second thing, I think, was Joe Biden.
So with the administration saying, oh, we inherited, it was a broken system when Trump gave it to us, it's all Trump's fault. You've got the immigrants themselves who are saying,
are the same.
Right. And I mean, again, at least Trump took the, initiative to say, don't come here. We don't want you here coming here, flooding our asylum seeking points, don't do it. Do it the right way. If you do it, you're not going to get to stay here and just kind of wander off into the sunset. You're going to have to stay in Mexico. You heard it right there from the migrants themselves.
Had a great dinner last week with my friend Larry Alex Taunton, who's the author of Around the World in More Than 80 Days. And he just got back from 2 months in Colombia, interviewing people who have come across the border from Venezuela trying to escape the socialism that's there. And they're going through these very dangerous journeys to get to Peru, to get to Colombia, to get to these various other countries. And he made an interesting comment. He said, if I could snap my fingers and replace every Democrat in this country with these people from Venezuela who are hardworking folks that are trying to escape socialism because they've been persecuted, he said, I would probably do it. He said, these are hardworking, these are good valued people. And you have to admit, there are those folks. And if I lived down there, I'd be trying to get into a better place too. If I was in Mexico, I'd probably be trying to get into America, get my family in here as hard as I could. When you have these caravans, when you have this massive influx that the Biden administration, while claiming a closed border, has created this crisis with an open invitation, you are drowning out the voices and the efforts of people who do deserve to be here, should be here, need to be here, that we want to be here. And you take this father here, my heart goes out to him, my heart breaks for him. These guys are coming up here. Where are they getting Biden shirts? Why are they wearing Biden shirts? Like they're basically saying, hey, we're on the same team as the administration. Let us in. And the Biden administration just gave ICE $87 million to house illegals that are coming across the border in hotel rooms. 1,300 hotel beds to be able to that they've made available. We have homeless veterans on the street. We're not taking care of American citizens. We have transients that are in the street living under bridges. We're not taking care of our own folks. Listen, folks, the light that shines the brightest at home shines the furthest away. We can help other countries if we're helping our own and making America great. But all we're doing right now is we're inviting in an element, and yes, an element, that drowns out the good and replaces it with the bad, and it is going to put the light out, and that light is America.
Yeah. By the way, I feel like that hotel room thing is my fault, because whenever the Trump administration was doing what they were doing, I had a conversation with my husband, and I was like, what the hell do they expect us to do? Put them all up in 5-star hotel rooms?
Good job, Latif.
And now they're actually doing it, and I'm like, oh, all right, I guess I should not have put that crazy idea out into the universe. Yeah. We've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Kitty Poo Club. That's yes. Kitty, Kitty Poo Club. Maybe you might be like me, and you might be a very proud cat lover, because Obviously, cats are superior to dogs. You may love your cat, but obviously having a litter box is not the most fun thing. You gotta go, you gotta clean it, you gotta change the litter all the time. Well, Kitty Poo Club takes care of the more unpleasant parts of cat ownership so that you don't have to worry about that, and you can get back to loving your cat. Working from home means more time for your morning coffee, an occasional afternoon nap maybe, and of course the opportunity for your cat to like walk across your keyboard in the middle of your Zoom call. So it's fun to have your cat around, but the litter box sucks. Yeah. So Kitty Poo Club was designed to be your solution for that. It's an all-in-one solution. It's very convenient. I use it. They deliver every month an affordable, high-quality, recyclable litter box. It is pre-filled with the litter of your choice, which for me, I love it's like silicone almost, but it's the very large flakes so that they don't step out of the litter box and get it all over your floor. So it keeps it all in the box. The boxes are leak-proof, eco-friendly, and when the month is up, you just recycle the box and Kitty Poo Club will send a new one to you. So you don't have to change the used litter. You don't have to at one point, I was going out in my back patio and hosing off the stupid litter box, and it smells. And we live in America. We don't want to be doing that. So Kitty Poo Club is here to help you with that. You can, of course, customize however you want, and according to how many cats you have. They have a no-risk guarantee, so you can easily customize or cancel anytime. Make sure to give yourself the gift that keeps on giving the whole year, a Kitty Poo Club subscription. You can get 20% off of your first order when you set up auto ship by going to Kitty Poo Club, enter the promo code Y. So that's KITTY, Poo Club. Yes, poo, as in poop. KittyPooClub.com, promo code Y. You will get 20% off when you set up auto ship. That is promo code Y at KittyPooClub.com. Just to wrap up what's going on at the border, at least for today. Because we all know this is going to stay in the news forever, because when the Biden administration says they are going to do something about it, they are not, in fact, going to do something about it. But, you're looking at, and I use the term concentration camps as kind of, tongue-in-cheek. I'm being sarcastic, obviously, because when the Trump administration was faced with this situation, I was happy to give them the benefit of the doubt that when you have a large influx that you're not prepared for, of a bunch of people who come all at the same time, you can't house them and you have to set up some sort of temporary facilities, something just to house them because they're flooding the system. And that's what you have to do, right? There's no way around it. But when it comes from the Democrats, it's like, you guys have already set your standard here that these are concentration camps to you. You're not allowed to do this. You have to have open borders. And I think that more and more we're seeing that these Democrats are just using people of color, minorities, as a pawn in their game. Eric, I don't want to let Chad White-splain to us, so let me get your take on this first.
Dang, girl.
But
I was all ready to do it, too.
But of course you were.
Of course I was.
But it feels a lot like that, especially tying this to all of the recent, it was horrible what happened in Atlanta. But unless there's new information that has surfaced that I haven't seen, there's really nothing that can point to any sort of racially motivated hate crime. And again, we're seeing all these Democrats like, oh, stop Asian hate crime, stop all these things. And it's like, well, hold on. You guys jumped to the race card.
Can I white-splain that?
Yeah.
When you
Do
have
you even care?
Hashtag Asian Lives Matter, hashtag Hispanic Lives Matter. We've already covered all that. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Starting to sound like all lives matter.
Huh.
Isn't that weird? It's weird how that goes.
Well,
they haven't said white.
Except white.
They haven't said white.
Except
White men, particularly.
Right. But
cisgendered.
Yeah, but we're seeing this trend of just, okay, they're going to take all of these hate crimes on, and they're going to tackle immigration because they love brown people so much. These are concentration camps, except when they're doing it. And, they're going to tackle all of these, crimes against Asian people, even though we have no evidence to suggest that, because they love Asian people so much. But then when it comes down to it, it's like, actually, do these people realize that they're just being used as pawns in the Democrats' political game?
I mean, when you talk about the Asian thing, if they want to talk about the demographics of the other attacks, that may be a little uncomfortable for a lot of people when it comes to that. But no, seriously, what happens is with the Democrats, this is their main ploy. And it's worked for them to their credit, in that basically they set it up to where anybody that's not white, straight, and a man we're all together, right? Of course, because we're exactly the same. That's why the term BIPOC is a thing, which I learned does not mean bisexual POCs. It means black indigenous. I literally found that out like 3 days ago, not even joking, live on stream. You guys go check that out. Somebody had to explain that to me. But no, they lump us all together because that's all they have.
Yeah.
So you have to understand the way they navigate is there is no problem because they have, again, talked it into existence that this has to be the case. There is no problem unless they can make that play. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter if racism's there. It doesn't matter if again, when you talk about some of the Asian hate crimes or the ones that have been being targeted, and some of those, a lot of them, most of them actually being, let's say, black, you know what I mean? The people that are doing those attacks, they don't even mention that. That's not even a thing because it's an uncomfortable truth, because everything that they have, really the only thing that they have, is trying to use each demographic, say, hey, support me, I will then support you, or rather do everything that I need to do for you. The thing that sucks about that is because it doesn't operate within any realm of reality. And what I always say about this is that, yes, some of these conversations are very uncomfortable, but the problem is when you approach it dishonestly, you can't actually find a solution to it. Right, if there actually legitimately is. And I will say that when something does happen, there may be a problem. It just doesn't mean that it's like racism, or it doesn't mean that they have to always make that play. But unfortunately, how can it get resolved if we don't properly assess what's actually going down? And that's what's going on with the border stuff. I've been making this point about immigration for a decade. You know, it's like, I know it's not black and white because I'm from Texas. I lived in South Texas. I've been there and I've done that. I understand that. And there's plenty of people that look, they have a family, they're trying to escape violence and all of that. But also it comes with its own sets of other issues that have to do with, like, not just the human trafficking, but also your taxpayer dollars just being wasted away with the whole refugee resettlement programs and all of that sort of stuff. That's another problem. But we can't assess it if we don't properly identify what the actual issue is. And the Democrats have painted themselves in a corner for a very long time now, and they've been doing this for literally decades, painted themselves in a corner like we can't even say that something is a problem unless we can pull that card. And it sucks because it's like, how are we going to solve it if you're going to be dishonest about it?
Yeah, it's a great point, because it's like, okay, well, you guys have already gone on record saying these are concentration camps. Where the hell are you, if that's truly what you believe?
Kids in cages, concentration camps, border crisis. We've called it all these things. Barack Obama sat down with George Stephanopoulos and said, let me be clear. You send your kids up here, trains, buses, we're going to send them back. He said those things. So what's the deal? And he says, well, we're just not going to turn kids back into the desert. Well, was Barack Obama wrong in saying that to Shorty Stephanopoulos and saying, we're going to send them back?
Yep.
So
if only we had a journalist who could ask those questions.
So what's the truth? What's the freaking truth?
Right.
Barack Obama said it was okay to turn things back, turn them back, turn things back, turn people back.
Right.
Just me being white and supreme. It's so stupid, though. Yeah. It just the hypocrisy, the insanity, the upside down nature of the whole rhetoric scheme is out of control.
Yeah. All right, quickly, let me get your thoughts on another headline of the day, which is that the federal prosecutor who oversaw the Justice Department's investigation into the January 6th riot, that's still in the news, all of that, because no one wants to stop talking about Donald Trump. He said that some rioters may be charged with attempting to overthrow the government, and also said that former President Trump may be, quote, criminally culpable. He said, I personally believe the evidence is trending towards that and probably meets those elements. I believe that the facts do support those charges. It's unequivocal that Trump was the magnet that brought the people to D.C. on the 6th. Now the question is he criminally culpable for everything that happened during the siege, during the breach? What I could tell you is this, based upon what we see in the public record, and we have plenty of people who were arrested saying, well, I did this because my president said I had to take back our house. That moves the needle in that direction. So now people are criminally culpable based on someone who gets arrested just based on why they say they did it. So can Joe Biden go to prison because we just saw an immigrant saying that he was coming because Joe Biden?
Right. I got a book coming out called Am I Crazy? And I must be, because either that or the rest of the world's crazy. And you can pre-order it now. One of the chapters that I included that, the publisher doesn't want to put it in there because I make a comment about fighting for our country.
Really?
And you can't say things like that anymore in light of the 6th of January. You can't say that you want to fight for freedom, you want to fight for people's rights, you want to fight for, the liberty and responsibility and all these things. You can't say that. We don't want to include that chapter. So you know that my publishers and I are kind of butting heads right now over this thing. And I'm like, look, if people are going to interpret the language in such a way to mean something so asinine as to say that is encouraging or inciting some form of violence or an attack or an attempt to overthrow the American government, then I can't help you. I mean, there's nothing. What do you want me to do? Do we just completely change the language? I mean, do we completely change the language?
I mean, once you do, they would do the same thing over again.
Yeah, I mean, we need to open up the borders and we need to do all these things because that's what Jesus would do. Jesus also fashioned a whip of cords and went into the temple a couple of times and whooped some ass. I mean, that's the kind of thing. Was that insurrection? Was that insurrection because he overthrew the system? He fought back against the corruption that was in the system. There are people out there, and I'm not talking about horn-wearing, Fred Flintstone guys that come in there wearing their, no shirt. I'm talking about people who are sick of the way this country's being run. Mm-hmm. They're sick of it. And we talk about all the time, being in Texas, talk about Texit and the right to be able to govern ourselves and the people of Texas to be able to vote on legislation and not bureaucrats. People are like, oh, you're just seditious. You must be one of those Capitol rioters. No, we're just sick of our rights being taken away, and it's exactly what's happening in this country. And now they're trying to steal our language where we can't even talk about it.
Right,
giving them too much credit. We're giving them way too much credit when we're talking about overthrowing the government. Y'all know
way too much.
Y'all know I ain't got any problem. I mean, I obviously didn't tell anybody to go to the Capitol because I don't think that you need to physically go to the Capitol anyway if you really wanted to, let's say, take the power back. That's actually an inefficient way to actually do it. But nonetheless, you see, I always talk about that cathedral. It's always we got to try to word it in which they're attacking us because they just don't like the fact that maybe people actually don't want them to be in those positions of power. Y'all giving them way, 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 way too much credit by talking about them overthrowing the government. These fools ain't even armed.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, I think I can say with confidence that if the right were planning an insurrection,
it'd be going down.
There'd be a lot more violence than what happened there. I mean, they would have brought all of their ammunition. Yeah. They would have brought their guns, which we know that they have. These were like old people who were like, look, the Capitol's open. Let's take some pictures. Yeah. All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Bambee. If you are an entrepreneur, you probably know this, but running an HR, just like the HR department, just is horrible. It can kill you. You are liable for wrongful termination suits if you don't do it right. You've got minimum wage requirements. You've got all of the regulations to remember. And by the way, hiring an HR manager is not cheap. You're going to spend like an average of $70,000 a year. So Bambee, you got to listen up. Bambee, B-A-M-B-E-E, was created specifically for small business owners. For this, you can get a dedicated HR manager. They will craft your HR policy, maintain your compliance. They will remember all of those stupid regulations that you can't remember because you are focusing on making money. They will do all of that for just $99 a month. So Bambee is going to change your HR from your biggest liability to your biggest strength. By the way, the HR manager is available by phone, email, or real-time chat. They can onboard your employees, do terminations, customize your policies, whatever you need to manage your day-to-day. Again, $99 a month. You can't beat it. It's month to month, no hidden fees. You can cancel anytime. You can focus your energy on the profits. You can focus your energy on the reason that you started your business, which I can promise you was not HR compliance. Let Bambee help get your free HR audit today. You can go to Bambee.com/matters to schedule your free HR audit. That is BAMBEE.com/matters. Bambee.com/matters. Back in a minute. Dr. Anthony Fauci. Eric, I thought of you when I saw this topic because I pictured your head exploding whenever I talked about it. So Dr. Anthony Fauci is going to be featured in a new book about his life called Dr. Fauci, How a Boy from Brooklyn Became America's Doctor.
Yeah.
Before he was Dr. Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, Anthony Fauci was a curious boy in Brooklyn, delivering prescriptions from his father's pharmacy on his blue Schwinn bicycle. So it is a kid's picture book, and it's being published by Simon and Schuster.
Of course it is.
I can't, Chad, I can't.
I'm writing a children's book. I won't wear a mask. Why do you ask? The liquor in my flask takes care of the task. I think that's pretty good stuff right there, right off the top of my head.
It's better than teaching your children about Anthony Fauci.
Pandemics don't need propaganda campaigns to make you aware of them. They advertise themselves through sickness and death, okay? We're keeping this thing propped up in such a way that it will never go away. It's insane. And now we're gonna put this pablum out there. You know what they're doing? They're prepping a whole new generation for what's coming.
Simple as that.
And let me just say, by the way, they say that you will get a timeline. Young readers will get a timeline, recommended reading, a full spread of facts about vaccines and how they work, and Dr. Fauci's own tips for future scientists.
People ought to be pissed off.
Look, I've been in. I'm an advocate of culture. I've talked about this many times. This is why. Though I know so many people get pissed off at me because I don't do the whole voting, campaigning, politician, government bullcrap. It's not just because I'm a freaking anarchist. That's not what it is. It's because politics are the lagging indicator. The left has say what you will, as dumb as I might think they are, their ideas are, and we make fun of them. They're not stupid to the point to where they don't understand how they won. Yeah. That's how they won. Yep. What you're saying is, and I know a lot of people push that stuff off, right? A lot of libertarians do it. I've been very critical of both libertarians and conservatives for completely ignoring that aspect of it. And I'm like, dude, there's a whole there's many subcultures that exist and which has absolutely nothing to do with politics. And that's where they're at, and they like control it in its entirety. And I know a lot of people are out of that bubble. They're like, well, I got the best ideas on my side. Why aren't people listening? It's because they're doing stuff like that, and that's how they're winning. And it might sound, well, it's just a children's book. Well, that child reads that, they become more notable, they grow in, and like you just said, that's who they're prepping, the next generation. Now, there are kids' books, like the Tuttle Twins and stuff like that. They're like freedom-minded kids' books that are out there. And people that are unfortunately in our space don't understand how important that stuff actually is. So we need folks, freedom-minded, liberty-minded folks in that space because they've been in that space for a very long time. All this Fauci thing, it doesn't surprise me. All it is just the latest example of that. And like you said, it is literal propaganda. I mean, we can call it what it is, but that's how they win. They understand if they can plant those seeds, they end up inevitably growing. And next thing you know, you have another generation of brainlets on the streets tossing bricks and, I don't know, Chick-fil-A's and Wendy's and stuff, whatever.
I mean, really, because you're talking about, I was just having this conversation with Dave Rubin on his show last week, and we were talking about, we have a whole generation of kids that are going to grow up with these masks, with the government setting all of these regulations, setting curfews, telling businesses they can't open up. And you're going to have this entire generation of kids growing up thinking government control is just the way, right? That's just a thing that we do. And they're going to expect it even more than, adults already do.
I went to the Dallas Stars hockey game last night in a suite, right? And because that's how I do.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Well, you're white, so we
But yeah, exactly. So it was myself and a few other executives, professionals, former Major League ball players. I mean, some people who are not used to being pushed around, right? We couldn't walk 15 feet once we got up the stairs, or off the elevator, I should say, to our suite door because they had roped off the area for 15 feet and said there's executives in that room that don't want anybody passing by their door for fear of coronavirus. I'm like, why are they here?
Right.
Why are they here? They wanted us to walk all the way around the entire American Airlines Center and come back in order to go 15 feet. You can only imagine the verbal melee that ensued once we were told that. trust me when I tell you, we didn't make the walk.
Wow.
We didn't make the walk. But this is the type of mind control that we're being conditioned with. And now we're doing it to our kids. No kid wants to read a book about a 900-year-old virologist. Nobody does. I don't care where he came from in Brooklyn.
And a full spread of facts about vaccines and how, no, please.
Yeah.
Just
what happens? You do a little pop-up and a syringe comes out of the book?
Teaches you how to inject it.
Yeah, I got too many jokes right now I can't say.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Well, when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about vaccines and incentives for vaccines, like Krispy Kreme giving away free donuts. Oh, there's a little bit to say about that when we come back. Krispy Kreme, the donut factory, is providing incentives to encourage more people to get vaccines. So they are offering free donuts through the end of 2021, as long as you show a valid COVID-19 vaccination card at any of their locations nationwide. Now, if you guys are listening, and you don't do this, okay? Don't go, oh my gosh, Sarah Gonzalez told me that I could go to Krispy Kreme and show my, no. We're talking about how stupid it is. So don't do it. I can't, are immune systems just a thing of the past?
Yeah. Here's what we do. You go get your vaccines and then go get you a big old dose of fried dough covered by sugar glaze and get you some diabetes, which is going to increase your chance of comorbidities and actually make coronavirus more dangerous to you. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. This is the dumbest thing.
But until Eric, they get us the diabetes vaccine, and then you'll be fine. Because you could get the COVID vaccine, go to Krispy Kreme, get the diabetes vaccine, and then you don't have anything to worry about. I think that probably is one of
it. If you take your medicine, I'll give you a cookie. I mean, this is that type of mentality.
It really is.
We just went from children's books to rewarding this behavior. I mean, you want to think there's not a conditioning program that's going on right now? We're buying this thing, and we're fat asses in America.
Which is why it kills me when everyone's like, well, it affected America so much because of Trump. It's like, maybe we should consider the fact that everyone's freaking fat and unhealthy in America, and that's going to factor into the death rate.
Well,
what do I know? I'm not Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Yeah, that's true, and it's not like we had numbers going, coming from all those other countries, and it wasn't like I was doing videos or anything.
Right.
None of us were
talking about this at the table.
March, no, that absolutely never happened. But it's such a weird, bizarre thing. And when I use the word cult to describe these guys, they get really upset at me and they call me really mean names on the internet.
You're right, though.
But I just wanted to make sure, that we see this.
Cults tend to get upset when you call them.
Cultists do continue to think that you're the crazy person because you call it for what it is. This is bizarre. Obviously, this isn't like anything that they've done before. For any other vaccine, I don't think. But look, what they're showing you that they recognize that there are people, and rightfully so, skeptical of this sort of experimental vaccine, which is, again, you may not like it being called that, but I mean, we kind of have to call that because it hasn't gone through the years of testing that generally vaccines do before
it is authorized
they're rolled out.
For emergency use. It is not FDA approved.
Exactly. So it's a literal experimental vaccine. So they're doing stuff like this to try to incentivize. Now, who would do that? I don't know, but maybe somebody that is more likely to be sick because they catch this virus are the ones that are more likely to say, look, I'll get the jab because I can get a donut. That's insane. That's insane. The fact that there's people around table.
Well, I was on the fence, but the
donuts are gonna do it. Like, imagine that. Imagine being the person at the round table discussion before you roll this policy out. Imagine being that person, like a group of people, like, you know what? We want to make sure people get this vaccine. We want to make sure they get it. How about this? We bribe them with donuts. And then they're going to get the vaccine. They'll get the jab. if we just tell them that you just get donuts. Hey,
I think you broke Chad.
Yeah, I probably did, because it's insane. It is insane, and it is worth coughing.
Made me cry, bro. Made me cry.
Considering how nutty this is. This is nutty. Like, this isn't normal behavior, man.
No. Well, and you know what else isn't normal behavior? I'm being told online, I'm being told that they are moving on with life without us, without the people who are not taking the vaccines. They
Michael
said,
Moore, listen.
We're moving on without you. Okay, you're going to have a passport. You're not going to be allowed in the movie theater, wherever in these general, public spheres. If you don't have the vaccine, we are moving on without you.
Yeah, and Michael Moore said over the weekend that our policy as Republicans is to kill the whole generation, just to kill Americans.
Oh, really?
That's our whole deal.
That's our policy.
He said that's what the Republicans are. That's what their whole goal is just to kill Americans. And to say something like that. So at what point in time do you say that these things are just simply inappropriate? You can't say these things about other people. You can't say that we're moving on without you. That is saying, I don't want you to have freedom. I don't want you to take your own responsibility. I don't want you to behave like an adult. We're going to mandate you from cradle to grave. And to sit back and say, I'm okay with these draconian measures. There's no accountability on these who are governing me now, and there's no liability there, and there's also no end game. There's no timetable for any of it. So I'm willing to let this go on in perpetuity, ad nauseum, being dictated to.
It's insane.
And we're okay with it.
Well, I'm not.
And people say, well, we're going to move on without you. Well, if you're going to keep moving on into that concentration camp mentality, that's real concentration camp.
Yeah.
That is mental control. That is mind control. You are psychologically being brainwashed. So if that's moving on, God bless you. Bon voyage. Arrivederci.
Eric, we've got about a minute left.
Yeah, look, I would have loved them to actually move on.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I moved on.
Yeah,
I know. I moved on a long time ago. Maybe you should.
Maybe it's actually them that's holding on to this whole ordeal because they don't like the idea of people being able to move around and assume risks that they have been doing since, I don't know, over the course of human history. But no, I would love for them to move on. Go ahead, by all means, leave me the hell alone. It's just crazy how that to them is like a threat to sit up here and say, okay, if you want to get the jab. I ain't gonna get it.
Right.
And they look at me like I'm the one wanting to inflict violence on them when it's them that basically they're coming up with policies, which is what you're alluding to. That's the direction that we're moving in, where it's literally illegal to go move around or something because you don't have the jab. Okay, well, that's you using violence on me.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you guys realize this, but if your vaccines work the way you say they do, then you should not be worried about anyone else.
Very true.
Sorry, back in a minute.
People are crazy, man.
If I were a conspiracy theorist. All right, before we go, make sure that you find both of these wonderful gentlemen wherever you can find them. I know you've got YouTube, Chad Prather Show. Make sure to find him on YouTube. Again, I'm going to be on with Chad. We're talking about illegal immigration and what you can expect the country to look like if this continues the way that it is. That airs tomorrow. So make sure to subscribe to Chad Prather Show. They can also go to Watch Chad.
WatchChad.com has all the special links. It's where all the fun stuff is.
You can see where to find Chad live. You can actually go and see him. I don't know if you can touch him, but you can go and see him. And he's not
for a fee.
He's not a hologram. Like
Pre-order Am I Crazy, where books are offered.
Yes, it's doing great on Amazon. By the way, I saw it was like the #1 new release. So great job. Also, don't forget you can find Young Rippa 59, which is also known as Eric July, over on YouTube. Tell me again, how old were you when you made that channel?
16.
I love that.
Literally 16 years old when I first started uploading videos on YouTube.
That's amazing.
Man,
so, and he's kept the name.
Yeah, I refuse to change it.
The
Even when
whole
I'm
time.
actually old, I will not change it.
Still going to be
I'm
Young
still
Rippa.
gonna be
He's
Young
not
Rippa.
changing it to Old Rippa.
Exactly.
Make sure to find Eric July as well. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.
Old Ripper doesn't have the same ring.